Hi guys, I'm here with another beginner's guide to cosplay video. Is that what I'm calling this series? I already forgot what I was calling this series. Whatever the series is called. Anyways, in this video I'm going to be talking about different types of attachments or closures for cosplay. I will link to some of the listings I buy from or can find that look good, like on Amazon or eBay, down below. So let's get started first by talking about what attachments and closures are for. These are used on everything pretty much, from armor to garments to accessories. So depending on what you're making, you're going to be using different types of closures. I'm just going to pick a place to start and start. Alright, so I think I'll start with armor attachments, although I might skip around just a teensy bit because I'll forget things here and there, so if it's not in perfect order, I am sorry. Armor can be weird. It can be difficult to find ways to attach it to yourself. So when I have things like bracers with like an open wrist on this part, or the same with like the shin guards, leg armor pieces that are the same where they're open on the back, I often will use elastic to close it. If you don't know, elastic is a stretchy material. You measure it so that it's around you, so that it fits snugly, not too tight though. Don't hurt yourself, but just snugly enough with it stretched a little bit so that it's secure, and then it just slings back to like its default state when it's not being stretched. And I'll try to find elastic in a color that matches whatever is underneath the armor, because usually this person has like sleeves or gloves or something, so in whatever fabric that is, I will try to find elastic to match it. If there is no fabric and it's just skin, I will use anything from a nude color elastic to white or black, depending on whatever looks best with the rest of the costume. Like, I just try to match colors that way. I got this giant roll off of eBay, super cheap. Recommend buying elastic in bulk online, at least in your basic colors like white and black, because you will use it a lot. It comes in a lot of different widths. This is like a 1-inch width, and this is the most common one that I use. I'll use this for my bracers, for my leg pieces, for anything that really needs elastic in it. You can get wider and you can get thinner depending on what you need. This is what I meant by I'm going to skip around a little bit, because some things kind of are used for multiple things. This isn't just good for armor, this is also good for fabric pieces. I specifically like to use this in skirts because I hate zippers and snaps and hook and eye closures, because I'm lazy and I really can't be bothered doing that stuff. So whenever possible, I will use elastic in the waistband, and this is what is my closure. Elastic is also useful for attaching like anything that goes around your face. I use it often for a mask. I'll put an elastic band around the back, and that's how I attach a lot of masks and just other headpieces as well. It obviously has multiple uses. I might not have listed every single use, but hopefully you get the point and the way that you can use elastic. Another common thing that I use, this is again is used for a lot of different things like garments and armor, and this is belt buckles. So you think belt buckles, usually just think belts, and that is true. You can use belt buckles like this, like normal belt buckle looking things, and ones in a bunch of different shapes or sizes. There's tons and tons out there. Just pick whatever fits your costume best if you're looking for like an actual belt buckle type thing. Or you could use belt buckles like this, and this is one that I use for armor a lot. I don't remember exactly what it is called, so when I look this up, I will put it on the screen, but they're like these seat belt buckle type things. Every time I need to attach some sort of pauldrons, I will use these because they are adjustable. If I need something hanging off of like a belt, like a hip armor piece, I will use these as well. If you watch my how I put on my Brigida cosplay, you'll see that I had used these a lot in her build. I will attach, pieces of fabric that are sturdy pieces of fabric to either end, glue one end onto whatever's like sitting here, whether it's like a strap of a costume, like a top or something. I will attach one strap to that and then I will attach the other strap to the underside of the pauldron. And I always leave a little bit of excess on one side so that I can adjust it. I know I said sturdy fabric, and that is possible. I've used that before when I have not had this or didn't know that this existed. I will insert a picture because I currently don't have any, but I use nylon webbing when using these just because that's what is typically used with these belt buckles in general. That's what I found people pair with these belt buckles for just random stuff. They're really sturdy. They're like thick, webbed, ropey strap type material. Again, you can also use these for other things like belts, and that's really all I can think of is belts, but if you can think of other things, that's fine. Let's go with Velcro next. Again, this is another thing that I use for literally everything at this point, like really. I use these a lot to close bags on cosplays rather than like snaps or creating actual buckles because your girl is lazy. This is like the easiest way to close things because there is even Velcro that is already pre-sticky. That's what this one is, although it wears off a bit, and I do always end up having to re-glue it because it's not the best adhesive on the back of these things. I also use these to attach armor to pieces. So like if there's a really lightweight bracer that is on like a glove piece, Velcro. These can also be used to just close garments in general. I never really use it for like a body piece, like a top or a skirt or like a bodysuit or anything like that. I wouldn't use it for that, but I do use them to close like if there's just a fabric piece that goes around my wrist, like an armband almost, I'll use Velcro to close that. Typically, I'll use it to close chokers. I use it to close like the same, like if there's like a band that goes around your leg, I use it to close that. I use it for bands quite frequently. The only thing when you're buying Velcro is some Velcro is weaker than others. How I found the Velcro that I kind of stick to using was trial and error. I used to buy some Velcro in bulk, but that was very, very weak and flimsy. If anything was even like slightly too heavy, it would just pop open. I should also mention that I do use this for armor as well. I'll use it to close neck pieces a lot. If I used 2mm foam for a chest piece, and I will close it with the Velcro. While we're talking about closing chest piece, I'm going to talk about something that I don't really use, but I know a lot of people do it this way, and that is the corset type closure for armor. You can use this for garments as well, but I'm going to talk about armor real fast. So when you have chest piece for armor, a lot of people will put the eyelets in to the sides of the chest piece, but they only ever really do so if you use Worbla. I've tried this with foam and it does eventually tear because foam is not sturdy enough to be corseted, but if you cover that part with Worbla or have full Worbla armor, then attaching eyelets usually works fine because Worbla is a lot more sturdier, and then they'll use whatever kind of ribbon or lace to lace it up. You can also obviously use this for garments. That's really common closure for garments. It's used for corsets like all the time. We'll also sometimes use it for bracers as well. Again, if it's like a Worbla piece, they'll put like eyelet closures and then lace up like bracers and leg pieces that are open on one side rather than using elastic or whatever. So it kind of just depends on your preference and whatever you find easiest. For garment closures, because this is the next thing I grab, you have zippers, obviously. There are a lot of different types of zippers, so that's going to be mostly whatever you feel will work best for your cosplay. So there are invisible zippers. I think they're considered a little bit more tricky to sew than normal zippers because the point is to try to make them look like they aren't there. People use this a lot for a lot of cosplays. Just anytime you don't want a zipper showing, that's usually what people go to. You can use normal zippers if you don't mind having the teeth showing, or if you're not going to really see wherever the zipper is, like in the back. If the back of the costume is covered, then like normal zippers are fine. Fine just in any other time. Like if you find that easiest to work with, then go for it. I use normal zippers like all the time. And then there's zippers like this, which are jacket zippers, and those are just the zippers that you have on your jacket. So normal zippers don't open on the bottom at all, so you can zip it down and zip it up, but it's not going to come apart. If you need something to open like a jacket, you have to buy a jacket zipper that has a specific bottom that can be taken out. Zippers come in tons and tons of different colors. Again, these are used usually for garments. I'm sure some people use it for armor and that it's possible. I don't see why it wouldn't be. It probably would be a little bit more tricky, but I'm sure it's possible and it's out there somewhere. So the next thing that is really handy for a lot of different pieces are snaps. Snaps are these little button looking things where you have two pieces to each set of snaps. So you have one that has this little nub and one that has this little hole for the nub to go in, and you snap them together. I'm not going to snap these together because they will take forever to get apart. And then they have little holes around the side, and that is where you sew all the way around. Hand sew it. At least I hand sew it. I'm sure you could sew it with a machine, but I just hand sew through these stitches all the way around to secure it into place. Typically we'll use these for fabric pieces. This is one of those things that I would use to close a bag or add like a hoop for a bag to sit around a belt and attach that back with a snap. I'll use it to attach things to a belt in general or close a belt. If there's something hanging off of the costume somewhere, like if there's some like weird flag coming off of the shoulder or something like that, then I'll attach it with a snap. Or if there's like a cape that's sitting on the shoulder, I'll use snaps to attach that. Snaps are usually stronger than Velcro, and yes, you can use them for armor. You're going to need to sew them to a piece of fabric first and then glue that fabric onto the armor. I've used these to attach armor that just floats. Like for my Taronda cosplay, I'm attaching her chest piece using snaps so that it snaps here and here, and it can just sit in place because it does not have a back to it, it just floats there. I'm also using snaps to attach the belt buckle onto the fabric piece. Snaps do come in a ton of different sizes, and while smaller snaps might be good for very small little delicate details, you're gonna want big ones for your heavy duty stuff. Small snaps will pop open if it's too heavy. So these are for like my armor and anything that's heavy, like heavy fabrics and stuff like capes. I would use snaps like this, and then these are for like closing bags and stuff that I don't plan to put anything in. I'll also use these for smaller details. There's ones even smaller than this, and I've just personally never found a use for it in cosplay. Another thing I use a lot are magnets, and I don't currently have any, so I can't really show you. I use a thing called earth magnets. Maybe they're called like alkaline earth magnets. They are really heavy duty magnets. They usually will read something in the title like alkaline earth magnets, N followed by a number like 52 or 68 or something like that. I usually buy one that says like N and then the number is in the 50s or 60s. It's one of the stronger strengths. And these are not fridge magnets. Fridge magnets will not work for your cosplay. Fridge magnets aren't designed to hold a bunch of weight and will just come undone if you try to use them. These earth magnets, they're really strong. They hold quite a bit of weight. You will feel the magnet, like how strong the magnets are when you are trying to get them apart. You have to use quite a bit of force and slide them apart and then pull. I've used these on cosplays that I need to be able to have taken apart. So cosplays that I need to make travel friendly and have things break down, I will use magnets as the piece that helps everything kind of pop into place. If you watch my video on how I made my Witch Mercy wings, I use magnets for that. I also use 2mm foam to put in between magnet pieces because I don't ever want the magnets to directly touch, because like I said, they can be very hard to get apart, and there's also a risk of these magnets cracking or shattering if they accidentally slam together too hard. I also use the magnets for my Bakugo cosplay for attaching the mask, so pieces that kind of look like they're floating just in the middle of nowhere. So if there's no like visible straps, but there's something underneath it, like fabric that it can attach to, I'll use that. So also on my Bakugo cosplay, he has this neck piece that just kind of sits here. So to keep that secure, I put a magnet on the inside of the strap of his shirt and then one on the underside of the armor piece. And so when I set them into place, it snaps in place and it's really secure and it didn't fall off or anything like that. Some other things that are often used for cosplays that I don't personally use a lot are like, I think they're called hook and eye closures. They're usually used in like chiffon blouses and stuff like that. You'll find these sewn into the back. They're also used in skirts a lot of the times, where a skirt has a zipper but then in the waistband it has these hook and eye closures. I'll insert a picture so you can see what I'm talking about. Well, people use those to close the waistbands of skirts. People will use those to close the back of shirts. People will use them to close just different garments depending on what it works for, like necklaces and stuff. And something else that I also don't have here are those little clasps that if you're making jewelry pieces for a cosplay, you'll use clasp typically when you have like a chain to attach it to. Alright, here we go. We have a necklace. The clasps that I'm talking about are like this. It's this thing that you find on the back of every necklace ever, and people will use these to, like I said, attach jewelry pieces. So people can use these for like belts that are chain related. You can get bigger hooks than this, and you could get bigger circle rings than this. Like, it doesn't have to be this thin, so they can hold a little bit more weight than your jewelry has, but they're not something that you would hold like a garment closed with. And I think that is everything that I can think of. Obviously, there are a lot of different things to use as closures for cosplays. These are just some of the ways that I have seen used and I have used myself that I could really talk about. And I think if you know about these things, you're pretty much good. Like, these will be useful for most everything. I think I've covered like all the basics for ways to attach stuff or close stuff on your cosplays. If there are other ways of closing things or attaching things that you have come up with, please feel free to leave them below in the comments so that others can see them and potentially try that out. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope you learned some new things or found some ways to attach armor or close your garments. Let me know if there's any specific type of closure you would like to see its own individual video on. I tried to talk about the ways I would use these things and how I would use them as best as possible, but if you want something more in-depth and I feel that that is possible, I will gladly do a video on that in the future. Just let me know. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I think I got everything covered. Again, I will compile a list of these things in a blog post and link that below so you can easily find these supplies. I will try to find a listing that will be up permanently, but listings often go down a lot and then get refreshed, and it's so hard to find online. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this video helpful. Have a lovely day, and bye!